Hey folks, Coach Patrick here from Endurance Nation, back fresh from our tour of California camp, man. It was awesome. Just awesome. I'm disheveled, I'm unshaven, I need to shower, it's Monday, I'm jet lagged, I'm just bombed out, but I'm just so excited to have been able to do that trip and to share that experience with so many folks from the team. Those of you who've been paying attention online on our blog, our podcast, following us on Twitter, or following our athletes on Twitter, or on their blogs, you know that the week was pretty awesome. Started off a little slow, a little wet and cold, and then kind of ramped up towards the end with just some high quality, amazing ride days. I think all in, the average person put in a little over 375 miles in 7 days. So lots of quality, good riding, and of course, killer terrain, and just being able to follow the Pro Peloton as well. It's just epic, life altering experience for many people. So anyway, I digressed. This is the weekly Q&A video, not the whole recap video, which I'm going to do at some other point in time. This is the weekly Q&A video, and the question today is coming from Nemo in the forums. And Nemo's question actually is a very good one. She said, the beginning of the tour of California, I saw that you guys were dealing with a lot of wet weather, a lot of cold weather. What did you wear? What was the piece of gear that made the biggest difference for you heading into the rain that allowed you to continue riding, continue enjoying your tour? Obviously, we had a couple days of experience with it, a couple different data points with different people. So what was that critical piece of gear? That's an excellent question. I mean, at the end of the day, if you think about it, if you paid money to go to California and the Pro Peloton's going to ride it later today, hey, I'm going to ride this. So you're going to get out there. Whereas if you are at home, you might just, go for a run instead or go to the gym and do something else. So if riding is mandatory on the agenda, there's a couple of key things I look at. The weather in particular, and the weather that I'll be talking about here, was both wet and chilly. So it's just under 50 degrees and wet. And so it's a high priority to actually stay dry. You don't want to stay too dry, with too much heavy-duty gear, because you'll start to sweat, and then that'll kind of defeat the purpose. But in general, top to bottom, working my way down the body, I have like a Gore-Tex cap that goes over my helmet. Kind of keeps my head dry, keeps the water off of my head, which is important. It doesn't really keep any warmth in. I wore a skull cap underneath it, but that definitely helped a whole lot. A rain poncho, they're like 15, 17 bucks. You should have like 10 of them. I have one I cut the sleeves off of, which I brought, and one that I didn't cut the sleeves off, which I forgot. But having that Velcro front rain slicker, awesome. Just Velcro's right on, easy to take on, easy off. Put it on at the first sign of rain, just to keep your undergarments dry. Then you layer the bottom according to however you feel like you're going to need on the day. In our case, we had a lot of different terrain to cover. There were times when you were climbing, you were crazy hot, and then you would descend and you'd be very cold again. So actually, a rain slicker is kind of nice because it does help provide an extra layer of insulation from the wind on the descent. You need to just kind of figure out your bottom layers. Lots of zippers to kind of keep the air flowing in and out as need be. So that's kind of what I wore on the top. Lower half of my body was just regular cycling clothes, nothing special there at all. They do sell rain pants, but I didn't opt in for those. Kind of on the fence with that. I think if for me personally, it would have to be 35 or below to kind of warrant those pants. And if it's 35 and below and wet, I'm not gonna ride anyway, just not safe. And then last but not least, our hands and our feet, so important. Obviously, if your hands go out on you, you can't brake. That first day's ride, which was 60 some odd miles, I think, my hands got super cold and wet. And as I stopped at the end of the first KOM, I actually couldn't take my own gloves off or do up another jacket. Rich had to open my Cliff Bar. He was caring for me, like I was 90 years old and couldn't do anything on my own. He did my clothes, he did my food, and I was off. I could barely shift. And so having a good set of gloves, super important. I would definitely recommend, if you don't have waterproof gloves, you have a nice layer of sort of heavy-duty gloves, and then you want a liner. I added a liner later in the week, and that made a big difference. Even though my hands got wet, they still stayed warm. And then my feet, obviously, I had a good pair of socks on and booties. In retrospect, I probably would have put a plastic bag over my shoe underneath my booties for those super wet days. And as an alternative to the heavy-duty gloves and liner issue, or option, I should say, some people actually went out and bought heavy-duty dishwasher gloves, the kind you pull right up to your elbow. Big blue and yellow ones, very colorful. and they wore those and absolutely swore by them. I mean, their hands were totally dry all day, and the rubber actually was still very grippy on the bar, so people were still very safe with it. So at the end of the day, a lot of different options for you. Nothing too expensive and nothing really out of the range of what you should already own. The cap on the helmet might be the only thing. But I would say all the other gear, the slicker with the Velcro front, you're going to want the good set of gloves, good set of booties for the feet. Those are all things that you want to have in your arsenal, and then also just all the other gear as well. So it wasn't anything too out of the extreme. On the second day of rain in the tour, about half the folks opted not to ride in the rain because we were on the coast, and there was just a sick crosswind coming in that was really hammering people, which made it to be even a colder day. Had the rain, the wind on top of the rain. It was a real rough day. But of course, everyone then missed climbing that 7-mile epic climb, which the folks who did opt in did do. But at the end of the day, regardless of conditions, you can still ride. Those people rode about 35 miles on the Tuesday, and they were cold, but they were able to get it done. So I think it's somehow easier if you're in the Peloton, but I don't know that for sure since I've never been. But so that was a great question, Nemo. Thank you so much. Everyone else, please continue to send your Team EN questions to weeklyqa at endurancenation.us. That's weekly, the letter Q, the word N, the letter A, at endurancenation.us. And I, Coach Patrick, will do my best to answer them for you or find someone who can. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Take care, and I will see you guys later. Bye.